The next speaker is Mr. Sanjay Sahai. Sanjay belongs to the 1989 batch of the IPS Karnataka cadre. He took VARINDIA in March this year. He has accomplished a high degree of professionalism in wide and varied professional assignments and finally got groomed and refined into an officer who has 360 degrees experience of all policing tasks, simultaneously maintaining keen interest in all staff functions and a passion for usage of appropriate technology in policing at all levels and in all the fields. He has been recognized as the real technocrat and cybersecurity expert. Now we will have Mr. Sanjay Sahai, IPS Technology Evangelist, to present his views on digital transformation.
Good morning, everybody. So first and foremost, I thank VARINDIA and Dr. Deepak Sahu for having invited me for the conference. I presume it is a very prestigious conference which happens annually by the name of Annual Infotech Forum. And the present one is the Annual Infotech Forum 2020. And I presume around 300 top technology investment decision makers and people who have been practicing this trade for quite some time and are important positions all across the digital landscape of this country have assembled here. I treat it as my honor and my good fortune for having been provided a chance to discuss with you as to what is happening in the most digitally transformational time which mankind has ever seen. My background is that I was an IPS officer for nearly 31 years. Towards the end of March this year, I moved out on voluntary retirement, and I'm in the process of creating a technology consultancy marketplace in this country. Besides getting into the education field with regards to cybersecurity and cyber forensics for their undergrad, postgrad, and certification courses. In my 31 years of service in the Indian Police Service, I had an interface with technology in lots of my postings in India and abroad. I worked twice with the United Nations, once in Yugoslavia as the head of recruitment and selection for the Kosovo Police Service, and the second time in Sudan, which was a basically war-torn situation. Suffice to say, there is a huge amount of technology which is used in the United Nations, and that particular technology which I picked up there, I was able to put it, replicate it to the Indian conditions, and my journey for the last 15-20 years has been a technology journey. Suffice to say that I'm not only a cybersecurity expert, and I stayed into cybersecurity on reasons of understanding the IT technology and creating an IT ecosystem in Karnataka. Why I'm giving you this background is that to basically explain to you all that I come from a history background. I'm a postgraduate in history in St. Stephen's from St. Stephen's College, and over the course of years with the interface of technology, I've basically grown myself into a technology evangelist. So today we are living in an age what we call as the digital transformation. Companies, academicians, large number of even institutions have tried their level best to bring a digital transformation of the nature which you are experiencing today. But unfortunately, what I've seen in the last 20 years, we were never able to accomplish this transformation. Courtesy COVID-19, per force, we were forced into this digital transformation. And presently where we are today, it is in this laptop. Everything has converged. Our work, fun, entertainment, communication, watching movies, literally banking transactions, our intimate social interactions, everything has converged into one single gadget. It might be a pad, it might be an iPad, it might be a mobile phone, a smartphone, or it might be a laptop. So this is where we exist, and this is where we live. And there is nobody who can be called as a distinct entity called netizen today. All citizens live in the digital world. You call it netizen or citizen, it's precisely one and the same thing. And people who don't even interact on the digital world, they're also connected in ways unknown. So this is a new paradigm. Home and laptop have become the harsh realities of today's existence. And given the touchless world and the contagion in which we live in COVID-19, I think we have been lucky that we had this technology so that we could graduate our social, our economic life, our professional life, all on this particular domain. As most of you are practitioners in this game, you would be aware of the fact that since 2014, cybersecurity has been the number one national threat for the United States of America, and by extrapolation, it is the number one threat, I think, for every single country on the face of this earth. You would also remember that I think around 3 years back, Bank of Bangladesh, Central Bank of Bangladesh, so there was a east, and in the east they lost around $91 million. So this is just to give you a backdrop as to the world in which we live today. But the main issue is, do we understand the cybersecurity world? If we do, we can find ways and means to live in a safe and peaceful manner. What we intend to do as a normal citizen of this country is to get into what I call as the responsible digital living. While you are able to exploit the benefits of the internet age, you also learn how to navigate the digital world without getting bogged down or without being exploited, without being caught by the predators and the pedophiles of the digital world. So this has to be the single most objective, whether it is at the level of the citizen, whether it is level of the CISO, whether it is level at the level of the enterprise, whether it is the level of a government department or the government as such. We try to understand cybersecurity from a very superficial point of view. That cybersecurity means some patch management, some antivirus, some firewall, and cybersecurity is done. Cybersecurity today is as complex and as the enterprise itself, and might be even more complex than the enterprise. The business world exists today on cybersecurity, and if you get into the researches done on why we are not graduating to cloud security, it was primarily for the reason of lack of cybersecurity, lack of confidence. So nearly 74.3% of whatever transition was not happening to the cloud security as per IDC was only because of the security purposes, and that is why we were not taking onto the cloud. But fortunately or unfortunately, COVID came. And today, all of us are on the cloud. Literally, all of us are on the cloud. And every single work which is happening by way of our interaction with large multinational companies, which I call as the IT behemoths, is happening on the cloud. Whether it is Zoom, whether it is the present, I think even go to Google Meet, literally anything and everything happens on the cloud. This whole IT ecosystem is a very complex system, wherein from me, my machine, to the network, to cloud computing, it is a very complex network where there are large places or large points where vulnerabilities arise. And to take care of this whole vulnerability end to end can be precisely called as cybersecurity. It might be data, it might be servers, it might be ports, it might be lack of patch management, it might be lack of antivirus, it might be lack of organizational culture, it might be the lack of correct training imparted to that particular individual. It might be because of any other factor, it might be a physical factor also. There are instances wherein physical factors have played a key role. When we talk about Stuxnet, it was a buffered organization, Natanz, the Iran's uranium enrichment plant. But what happened? There was a pen drive thrown there. Somebody picked up the pen drive and put into the system, and lo and behold, that is what we call as the Stuxnet exploit, the first military-grade cyber weapon used in the history of mankind, which I generally call as the 9/11 of cybersecurity. Do we understand what our requirements are? Or whatever is being sold to us by vendors, whatever is put on the internet, what is put as basically a propaganda also to sometimes, whether we are falling into that, or we have a very clear-cut understanding as to what is the cybersecurity stance and cybersecurity requirement of my particular enterprise. Or is it just another management task? By just another management task means that you have 20, 30, 40 tasks in your organization, and one is cybersecurity and also being attended in the manner as we put the tick. So in the same manner, we take cybersecurity also. But given the nature of the things where we are in, lack of understanding of cyber security, either by the CIO or your chief operations officer or the CEO, anybody for that matter, will make the cyber security stance weak. And if we don't understand the requirement of our organization as to what is the nature of cyber security required, then there will be absolutely next to impossible that we will be able to get cyber security, which is commensurate to the requirements of the organization. Mostly it happens, leave aside being commensurate. Actually, there is no cyber security when we get a feeling and a semblance that cyber security is there. Cyber security is primarily what we call as the security of data. There are a large number of other things, but suffice to say, at the end of the day, it's data, data, and only data. Now, who owns the data? How is data created? What is the data life cycle? So until unless we understand the whole data life cycle from its creation, transmission, usage, interface, it will be extremely difficult to understand what will be the nature of cyber security. We keep talking about defense of tech. There are standard systems which are operating all across the globe. And while having this standard system, it is also happening that cyber security is getting weaker by the day. Are you ready to learn? What is most important is, are you ready to learn? Or you are a quick fix CISO, CIO, or CEO. We are living in an age where the cyber security is a very, very dynamic field. It changes with the nature of connectivity, it changes with the nature of gadget, it changes with the nature of human resource you employ, train, recruit, and deploy. If you are not ready to understand, if you are not ready to learn how the stance moves, it will become next to impossible to keep yourself secure. Suffice to say that decimation of most of the enterprises happens because of the lack of cyber security. Other processes everybody understands. When you talk about cyber security, we start from the point wherein they say that the weakest link is the software itself. And if we have to get into the capability of the software, suffice to say that at the first attack, the software breaks. There are bugs, there are vulnerabilities, which are known. I think MS Office Suite is the largest targeted software suite. Nearly 70% of the attacks happen on it. Nonetheless, all of us use because we don't have a choice. Until and unless you are able to explain what your cyber security stance is, until unless you understand the real requirement, until unless there is a learning, until unless there is a capability to define, and also the great determination and courage which comes out of your expertise, till that time, we will not be able to explain it to our boards. When I talk to CISOs, when I talk to large number of cyber security professionals, so they speak in one unison that the board is generally not ready to give the nature of resources which is required by cyber security. Why is the board not ready to give such resources? Are we only cyber security experts, or we understand the whole ecosystem? Do we understand the IT ecosystem? If you don't understand the IT ecosystem, it is equally true of the people, the vendors, the people who are giving you product, the people who are giving you services. They are also coming in a standardized mode. They generally don't know what the features are. They generally don't know what the combination of the features are. So when you are unaware of as to what is happening in your enterprise, and the persons who are providing you the resources are also unaware as to what they are providing. So this is the crux of the problem. This is the subset where we are stuck up. And when you go for a management approval at that particular point in time, you are not able to explain as to where we stand. You are not able to explain as to this investment, in which manner it will be useful for the enterprise. You are not able to explain that in case of a cyber breach, the earliest or the average time needed for that particular detection is around 200 days, where the victim and the perpetrator are under the same roof for around 200 days. What more damage that can perpetrator do? He's right there. Stealing your information is stealing your data. You'll be surprised that Edward Snowden, as it is estimated, was able to get away with nearly 250,000 documents. The documents which came to light has been only 32. And those 32 documents were enough to put the whole world on a tinderbox. Lo and behold, nobody knows the exact number of documents which have been stolen. 7, 8 years down the line, since this whole thing came to the public view, still we don't know. And that particular incident decided the nature of cyber security, the nature of privacy, nature of duplicity of government, the nature of government surveillance into the public domain. You can understand the complex scenario. And Edward Snowden was able to get into this particular data as an insider to the extent the activist, which in cyber terms are known as the activist, to which extent they can go. He got into NSA. In NSA, he was working in Geneva. Supposedly, he realized the duplicity of the way NSA functions. From Geneva, I think he went to other places. He joined Dell. He was with Dell in Tokyo. So there also he realized that he will not be able to lay his hands on the nature of data which he is looking for. And finally, I presume that he joined Booz and Hamilton, and he was in Hawaii. And there he was able to lay his hands on the nature of data which we have been talking about, and that particular data was able to blow up the world. That is certainly the biggest accident, or a very meticulously orchestrated data breach in the history of data breaches, which we come and hear on a regular basis. Coming to the Fortune 500 companies, 97% of the Fortune 500 companies have been hacked, and 3% which have supposedly not been hacked, actually they don't know that they are hacked. So 97% has been hacked and 3% don't know that they have been hacked. The return on investment, which we talk about, and in your boardrooms you talk about the return on investment. The return on investment, when it comes to a major hack, is only decimation and nothing else. I thank Dr. Deepak Sahay and your organization for having invited me here and giving me a chance to talk about cybersecurity, and also wish you all best of luck. Stay home, stay safe, and make a life out of your life. Make our existence safe. I wish you all best of luck. Once again, thank you.
Thank you, sir, for sharing your valuable inputs. And with this, I am sure the industry must have got some valuable insights.